WNST, Nevada, which is not one of my least favorite places, I might add. And there is a chance that on Thursday night, sometime around, about 11:15, 11:30 Eastern, or perhaps later, that the Washington Capitals will be skating Lord Stanley's chalice, the goblet, the cup, up and down the strip. Ed Frankovic joins us now. The level of excitement for this, Ed, we saw inside the building, outside the building at Game 4, and all Barry Trotz could talk about is calm. Certainly TJ Oshie, Ovechkin, Holtby in the aftermath, but very, very hard to stay calm when that was the kind of send-off we saw on Monday night down in the district, Ed.
It was the chance of we want the cup those last few minutes while you and I were in the Capital One Arena there. And, yeah, Coach Trotz says, let's relax. Let's take care of our body today and tomorrow and be ready to go Thursday. But he did say he's excited, and I think this team hasn't played their best game yet of this series, and Trotz said as much. I thought they were better in 3 than they were in 4, but looking back on several of the goals the Capitals scored on Monday night in Game 4, well, that's just good hard work. I mean, they're just beating Vegas to the front of the net, and if they continue to do that, you're going to be you'll be watching that cup go up and down the strip on Thursday night.
All right, I guess top to bottom, let's start with the fact that they came home and handled their business, right? And handled their business in a very impressive fashion in Game 4. I mean, there's no point in Game 4 where they're winning 4-0 where you're thinking, well, Vegas has 3 wins in a row and them the rest of the week. And I know that's never the way it is, right? I mean, you're an old Oriole fan. I'm an old Oriole fan. We remember the 79 Orioles blowing a 3-1 lead. This is where it kind of gets treacherous. And I got the final question in at the end of the night on Barry Trotz. And, my question was, there aren't a whole lot of days that you wake up and you can win the Stanley Cup. There's never been a plane ride you've ever gone. You've never driven to the airport and said, I can win the Stanley Cup on this trip, And, I talked to Trotz about it, and I think his biggest thought was, this is fun for these guys. These guys enjoy being together, and that they have overcome all sorts of adversity during this period of time. I think there is an incredible resolve about this hockey team, but I think all of us know 3-1 is where it gets difficult. And Trotz said this will be the most difficult game we ever win, and that's a hell of an acknowledgement by him because it's true.
Yeah, it is, Ness. And we saw them lose 3-1 lead to the Rangers in the second round in 2015, Trotz's first year. We've had several 3-1 losses to the Penguins along the way. It's never over till it's over. But those teams were very good. Those Ranger teams, those Penguins teams were loaded with stars. And I'm not saying Vegas is not a good team. They're a very good team. But I think the Capitals, as you pointed out, their skill players are the difference in the series. The Capitals are finishing their chances where Vegas is not. I mean, Vegas played a great first 9 minutes, if you will, and hit the post. James Neal hits the post. Riley Smith before that missed a kind of an empty net, short side, but Holtby's a little bit in their heads, and they're clutching their stick a little tight, and then Vegas takes a bad penalty. I mean, a terrible triple Lars Eller in the neutral zone, and the Capitals' power play makes them pay. And then you look at the rest of the Capitals' goals. The next 2 goals are all going to the net. Even the power play goal was going to the net, TJ Oshie. And then you got Wilson off a face-off play. Great play between Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and Wilson. And then the third goal, Ovi makes a great Smith-Pelly keeps the puck in. Ovi gets it to Niskanen, and Smith-Pelly's just going to the net. And it's just a great pass by Niskanen, skate to stick, and in the net. And that was pretty much it for Vegas. They made a little bit of a push in the third period, but you really have to like the way the Capitals are taking advantage of the Vegas defense. They're big. The Capitals are bigger. The Capitals are more skilled back there, and they're finding the seams, and that's why they're winning this series 3-1. It's the Capitals are getting to the front of the Vegas net where Vegas is having a harder time getting in the front of the Caps net.
You talk about guys that make a difference, and I think we all sort of sweated it out when Kuznetsov got injured in Game 2 toward the end as we left the desert, and I know the big story leaving the desert between 2 and 3 was, what is his availability? Is he going to play? When he was seen on the ice down at Kettler, and most of the guys on the team, I know Ovechkin sort of was predictive that he would play. We were all, they'd have a harder time winning this series without Evgeny Kuznetsov, and he's in on 3 of the first 4 goals of the game and has been I guess for Trotz, he says elevate their game. That's his verb, elevate their game, elevate their game. I don't know that there's anybody here amongst these guys, and I think that was predicted when I said that Brett Connolly would score the game winner, that there would be, I guess, this opportunity for all of these guys to play better than we've ever seen them play. And I guess that starts with Ovechkin, right? And that starts with Holtby. They've been outstanding, for the most part. I mean, there have been some nights where Ovechkin's disappeared a little bit, and that happens on nights when they don't get penalties, quite frankly, because he's such a huge part of the power play unit. But the big stars, I mean, TJ Oshie, they gave him all that money. Is he worth it? Is that going to be a bad deal in his final years like Chris Davis or whatever? Kuznetsov, Holtby, those are the three stars of the game. And then there was Oshie, there was Ovechkin and Backstrom, who've all been just playing at the level you would want them to play. You would say, we're paying them all a lot. We think they're an elite player. It's June. Are they healthy? Are they contributing? Are they vested? Are they in it? All of the above. They're all earning their money right now, man.
They're all in, Ness, and I point to the 24 block shots that they had to only 8 for Vegas. I mean, that's just a big commitment around your net to put your body out in front of that puck and take the bottom of the net off.
That's 24 bruises that are going to Vegas with them, right?
Right, and Vegas blocked 8 shots. So There's your commitment level there, right there. There's the difference in the game. The block shots are the differences in the game. And I wanted to ask that at the end of the game, and some guy from Quebec gets to ask a question about Marc-Andre Fleury shooting the puck into the net. I wasn't really happy with the NHL not letting me call a legit hockey question while this other guy's talking about goofiness at the warm-ups. But the commitment by the Capitals is why they're winning. They're all in. I mean, that's been their saying all along. And you talk about guys elevating their game, but Kuznetsov definitely. I mean, he's an elite player. I mean, that's why Brian McClellan paid him $7.8 million a year for 8 years. I mean, Kuznetsov held this franchise hostage for a few years while he was over in Russia, not coming over, and Trotz has been the one who's had him for 4 years. And look at the development of his game; he's a superstar in this league. And if not for Ovechkin and his leadership, I think Kuzi would win the Conn Smythe if the Capitals win, which they should. But I think Ovechkin's going to get it. I mean, the Canadian media is already saying, Ovi's leadership, and Ovi only had 1 point on Game 4. But the big goal, the second goal, Ovechkin makes a really nice stick lift on Engelland that allows the Cavs to get the puck there and cycle it and get that goal. I mean, it's just that goal was just a hard-working face-off goal. Nothing fancy about it. I mean, it was high skill, but it was high energy. It was grit. It was just outworking the other team and getting to the front of the net for a quality chance. And Marc-Andre Fleury, he really hasn't had much of a chance on many of these shots, and when he's had a chance to make the save, he hasn't made it. And Holtby's made his. And you talk about other guys raising their game. Devontae Smith-Pelly has 6 goals, and your guy Brett Connolly, who you still say is going to get the game-winning goal here, he's got 6 goals. So the guys are stepping up, and we've seen it the whole playoffs with the injuries, the adversity, the suspensions. They've been through a lot, the Capitals, and I really feel like they're going to be very excited. And I do agree with Trotz. They have not played their best game in this series, and I won't be surprised if we don't see that on Thursday night.
Ed Frankovic has been my friend since 1985. And I think certainly on that night when Pat LaFontaine scored in 87 on Easter Eve, we were waiting for a Capital Stanley Cup from the days of Mike Gartner and Dennis Marook even before that, and Pete Peters and Rod Langway and Craig Laughlin in the big trade we'll have on a little later on here this week as we get up on Thursday night. Everyone has waited for all of this, and to see the crowd at this point, Ed, to see what the brand has become, to see that people have dropped everything, including my son and his wife, to go down to D.C. on a Monday night and participate in this. I guess from a participation standpoint and getting in the car, getting on a plane, going out, it's been as joyful, as fun of a ride. Now, I hope they can cap this thing. I hope they do it on Thursday. And I would say to you, I don't want to see this thing come back on Sunday. I think it would be a very nervous crowd if it gets back Sunday 3-2 and they give up the first goal. I think bad things could happen, right? I mean, and we've seen so many bad things happen. This is a drill down to go out to Vegas and win this thing and bring the thing home in a box.
Yeah, and as TJ Oshie said after the game, we're creating our own history here. We know about the past. We're not shying away from it, but we know how much this means to the fan base, and they're confident in what they're going to do. They're going to continue to play their game. They're not going to let those outside influences affect them, and just play the way they know to play, and hopefully bring this thing back on Thursday. Again, Vegas is going to have a big push early, but I think the Capitals, again, the key is just to keep Vegas away from the front of their net. They didn't do a really good job of that early because Smith and Neal had those great chances early, which could have changed the complexion of the game. But once they kind of locked that down and got that first goal, the Capitals did a really good job of keeping Vegas on the perimeter. They had a lot of shot attempts, but at the end of the day, 24 of those were blocked, 17 misses, and the shots on net were 30-23. And the Capitals, they take advantage of their opportunities. They're a high-skilled team, and guys like Kuznetsov. And let's talk about Nicholas Backstrom, who broke his hand during these playoffs. That hand's still probably not 100%, but he had 3 assists in game 4, and he's done a super job of shutting that Marchessault, Carlson, and Riley Smith line down, and that was his job. And Backstrom, it doesn't get a lot of credit. Kuznetsov's kind of stolen the spotlight, but a lot of that is because Kuzi gets to get the better matchup while Backstrom's playing that two-way game. So it's so important to have those two centers, and Nicholas Backstrom has been really, really solid and under the radar in the Stanley Cup Finals so far.
Ed Frankovic is our guest. He is our Caps historian. He will be waiting to rock the red on Thursday night, a Game 5 opportunity, and that's all it is an opportunity for the Caps to steal the Stanley Cup and bring it back home. I know everyone's wound up around here. I know the television ratings in Baltimore, Ed, through the roof. Is there anything you want to say about your timeline? I know my timeline that I've had for 10 years through Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and My World and all the social channels that I'm on and ways that people get to me and pictures that I see, it is amazing how bought in almost anyone I know who is a sports fan. I mean, there are definitely a percentage of people that play the Baltimore, I hate Washington card. I've always hated the Caps. I'll always hate the Caps. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. Okay, there's a handful of those people. And the fact is they probably don't like hockey. There are very few people in this area who love hockey who hate the Capitals. That's sort of a special breed. I mean, they've been here for 40 years. There's been nobody else to root for. I get that you hate the Redskins, which I do too. I get that you can hate the Nationals or the Wizards or Georgetown or Donald Trump, which get me in line on that. A lot of things I hate about D.C. But the Capitals have awakened my world. Every Ravens fan, Orioles fan, Terps fan, the people that I traditionally know as a sports fan who do not identify themselves as a hockey fan, they're watching this and they're excited by this. And I think part of it is this introduction to the game that you and I love so much, right? And the speed of it and the pageantry of it and how hard it is and how ugly you have to look like Alex Ovechkin to have 8 weeks of beard, going at this point, to go out there and play at this level. I think people in this area are getting sucked into hockey in a way that you and I can only dream about for 32 years. To say, you and I love hockey, but we have to talk about it with each other because you can't just stop people in the street in Baltimore and talk hockey. It's not part of the vernacular around here. It hadn't been for 30 years that I've been on radio, but all of a sudden, people that have nothing to do with hockey are buying in and learning the game, being excited by it. I think there's an afterglow of this, Ed, and, I hope to God they win the Cup. I hope at this point they're not going to blow the 3-1 lead, but if we're sitting here next week and they've blown it, I still think they've created that sort of ripple effect that only this could do in regard to how to market your sport. Like what Tiger Woods meant to golf. That had to happen in order for golf to have that period of time, that 15 or 20 years of growth to the next level. For the Capitals to ever be a dominant brand, they had to win a cup. They still have to win a cup. But it was this kind of a ride that, 10 or 15 years from now, we could see the difference that the Capitals move to a different level as a revenue team, as a two-market team, and for the next thing that's going to happen after Ovechkin, this sets up the franchise over the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I don't get the anyone who doesn't who the Washington hate for the Capitals. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I get with the Bullets because the Bullets started in Baltimore and Abe moved them, right? And I get the Redskins, and I don't like the Redskins either. You know that. And I get the Nationals. I don't like the Nationals either. But that's the only hockey team we've had, and they played in Maryland from 1974 to 1997. I mean, I was dragged as a 9-year-old kid with my father, who you know well, was in media, and that's how I got into this. and went to the games. And I remember they couldn't get the puck out of their own end, and the Canadians would beat them 12-0 with Guy Lafleur, and and icing was a good play, and the Islanders would destroy them. And we kind of met each other during that rise in the '80s with when the Rod Langway traded and the David Poile era, and it's just been. There were a lot of people that went to the games when they were at the Capitol Center from the Baltimore area. I mean, my very good friend Mike Herr, I did stats with him for years. You know him well. He's a Baltimore guy, lives in Pikesville. I mean,
well, that's the point, dude. Here's the point. My boy Howard Scher and I were exchanging texts at 2 o'clock in the morning. I have never sent Howard Scher, who's been my best hockey friend my whole life. I met him at a Skipjacks game in 1986 covering the team. They were the Skippers on the Warpath guys. I would always sit with them. And I sent him a text, and I said, they're going to win the Cup. Like, I've known Howard 34 years. We've never been able to talk to anybody else about this sort of stuff. The hockey community is a very, very sliver. I can name 15 people that like hockey, but that's about it. But all of a sudden, we can talk to everybody now, right?
Yeah, I'm walking around on Sunday picking up food over by Arundel Mills, and I just happened to have it was cold out, on Sunday, so I had a Caps pullover on, and the guy making my food, oh, let's go Caps, and I'm walking, hey, Caps, and people are yelling at you when you have the gear on, and, I've only really experienced that around here with the Ravens, when the Ravens had it on, and wearing the gear in the Super Bowl year, and that run was magical, and then back in 2000, and it feels a lot like that, and the Capitals have gotten some breaks like that. I mean, for Neil to hit the post there in front, felt a little Jacoby Jones luck-like, to be honest with you, and then a good team takes advantage of those breaks and takes over the game, and I think they needed to win a cup with Alex Ovechkin. I think that was the key, because the youth hockey explosion when Ovechkin came here has been unbelievable. I mean, all three of my kids skate, my two younger boys play hockey, and there's just so many kids and future fans involved in the youth hockey, and Vegas is going to experience this as well, because even this run for them has been magical to get to the finals, and they're going to build that. They're going to build that fan base with this run, hopefully, and their youth hockey program. But there's so many future fans here now that this is creating, and a lot of this goes back to Ovechkin, because he came here and then Backstrom, and they've been waiting a long time to do this, and Crosby's put a dagger in it several times by beating them in the playoffs. They've had some heartbreak against the Rangers, and now they've broken through, and now they have that chance, and they have one game, and this franchise has never had one game to play for the Stanley Cup, and I think you're going to see their best game. I think you're going to see desperation from Vegas, but I think you're going to see excitement, as Trot said. I think you're going to see passion, and I think you're going to see a focus, because the Capitals know they go out on that ice on Thursday night, they play a good game, they're going to skate that cup around, and I think that's a huge, huge incentive.
He is Ed Frankovic. He has been our historian, blogger, insider for all things Capitals for a better part of 2 decades now at WNST. He has been our friend. I am headed out to Vegas on Thursday night. We'll have full coverage across our social media. Ed, I want to sort of bang around a little bit off the ice, because I think there's plenty of time to talk about how wonderful they've been, but what this means to the Capitals and sort of bringing it all together. And I think Linda Carter's been out on front of this, right? Wonder Woman has been everywhere. I saw Tony Robbins in the locker room after the game on Monday night, and I'm going to be writing at length about that. But how about Ron Weber going into the booth with John Walton? I'm hoping to have Walton and Kenny Sabrin on at some point here over the next day or two. But to see this marriage to their history, to see Rod Langway and Peter Bondra and Pavanka and these guys showing up at the games and having the alumni side of this, but even Ron Weber coming back in and calling the first period of a Stanley Cup final game. Dude, it's, this whole thing is getting circular now, and the only thing that's going to complete the circle, right, is watching Ovechkin lift that cup up to the sky, right?
Absolutely. And I talked to John actually after the game, John Walton, and I know John back to his Hershey days when I covered the Bears. I went up there when Carlson was in Beagle, won those 2 back-to-back Calder Cups, and Holtby was on that team. He wasn't the starting goalie, but he was the backup. And I talked to John, and I said, John, that was just a brilliant move to bring Ron back. And John, I said, I give you a lot of credit for the good karma in the first period, because, we heard Luck Be a Lady by the old Guys and Dolls song, played by our pal Bruce Cunningham on the organ there in the third period. And Luck was a lady early in that game. And
I think he was playing that for Vegas, by the way. That's a Vegas song.
That's true, yep, little Guys and Dolls. But I said to JW, I said, just a classy and brilliant move to put Ron on. And John says to me, Ron was +3 in the first period. So, you know, maybe Ron Weber brought some luck. So
Ron Weber was +3. I love that, man.
But
well, I think for those of us who pulled
thing,
out of the Capitol Center hearing his voice every night, I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, a lot of the games weren't on Channel 20 or Home Team Sports. The only way you could listen to the game was to put it on the radio, man.
Right. I mean, I remember the Capitals clinched their first playoff berth out, I believe it was Calgary. My dad and I were listening to the game, and we heard them clinch their playoff berth on that big winning streak. I think they won like 14. They won not 14, but they won a whole bunch in a row, maybe 9. And Ron Weber was the one who told us they made the playoffs for the first time ever. And you know, and you talk about the alumni buying in. You know, I checked my phone after the game, and there's Ole Kolzig filming the crowd, and you know, posting. It's on my social media. I had Ed Frankovic out there. I retweeted it, but. Who says this isn't a hockey town? And Ole's out there filming the crowd. You know, a former goaltender, you know, arguably one of the faces of the franchise, Kolzig, and he's out there. And he still works for the team in a capacity working with the young goaltenders. But here's Ole soaking it all up, feeling a part of it, and out there with the fans and filming them. So it's really special. This team is really, really bonded together and just done some incredible things, been through a lot. I mean, first round, it's 0-2. They're in double overtime. In the first overtime, I think Columbus hit the post, and they could have easily been out in the first round, and now they have a chance to skate the Cup on Thursday night.
Ed Frankovic can be found at Ed Frankovic on Twitter, as well as Ed at WNST.net. Ed, the next time you and I do radio, I could be underneath of a confetti storm. And whatever Vegas is going to do with me on Thursday night, Vegas is going to do with me on Thursday night. So I don't even know if I'll be here to celebrate it with you, man. I might just get swept up into the vortex, you know, and wind up, I don't know, somewhere out near the Joshua Tree or something before it's all over with.
Yeah, it's unfortunate I can't get out there, and my wife thought I would probably be going, but there's just too much going on with the family and then with my day job, and I would love to be there, but you're going to be there. I'm going to be living through you out there, and let's be honest, I've watched these first 3 series wins at home on the TV, so I'm more than happy to see them skate this Cup on Thursday night. Again, just go out there, play their game, be confident. They're going to get an early push from Vegas, and again, that first goal, getting that lead at the midway point of the game has been the key in this series because the Capitals, and I mean, even in the first game, Vegas was pretty good at locking it down. So I think just go out there, play your game, and be smart and stay out of the box. That's the other thing. Stay out of the box. The Capitals won Game 4 on the power play, going 3 for 5, and Vegas was 0 for 4.
All right, man. I am making sure my lips do not get dry out in the desert because I got plans on kissing the Stanley Cup before it's all over with. You know, we had dinner with the Cup last week in Vegas, and you bailed on that. You went like rock climbing or something. You've never taken your picture with the Cup, right? I mean, you've been in a room with a Cup before, right?
I have never. I have been in the room several times, but I have never taken my picture with it. I have never touched it, and I don't want to until the Capitals win it. That's been my plan for 45, whatever. How many years are we now? 44 years in since 1974. I'm not touching that baby till they give it to Ovi first.
Well, I did not touch it. I'll have you know, last week. There is a picture of me hugging it in the Hockey Hall of Fame last year in Toronto, and that's probably why it was bad mojo, because I touched the Cup. So I did not touch the Cup the other night. I took some pictures. I got near it. I took a picture of the strip that the Philadelphia Flyers names are all on for Hockey Mag, and I sent that to her, basically to taunt her, but she's a Caps fan, too. She lives here. She worked for the Caps, so she's been rocking her red all week. This has been a glorious ride, Ed, and I hope we don't have 3 more conversations left or 2 more. I hope the next conversation we have, we're talking about how it feels to win the Stanley Cup. How about that?
That would be incredible, whether it's after the game Thursday night or Friday morning. We will touch base. And again, I think the key is Capitals continuing to wall off the front of their net and Holtby. Holtby's certainly playing very well in net. And if the Capitals continue to play good, solid defense, it'll lead to opportunities at the other end, and they'll be victorious. So that's what they have to do. They have to stay in the moment, get their bodies ready. I think the 2 days helps again because the Capitals have some older guys. That allows them, the Orpiks and the Oshis and the Backstroms, to recharge and be ready to go on Thursday.
Ed Frankovic is Ed at WNST.net. He is Ed Frankovic on Twitter. He will be very, very active. I will be out in the diamond in the desert hoping to bring back Lord Stanley's Chalice. And as a reminder, head coach Barry Trotz and Ted Leonsis have both been on record, very vocal about bringing the Stanley Cup to Baltimore if they were to win. So I'm waiting on Tom Ebright's champagne. I've even kept my Bellagio cup here, handy to put that I will drink the nectar of the hockey gods from, Vegas style. Rest up, Ed. We got a Stanley Cup to win on Thursday night.
Absolutely, Ness. Have a safe trip and bring it back.
The BuyAToyota.com audio vault will be chock full of hockey conversations, left to right, back and forth. You can go find us on the internet. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Anything you miss, you can also get in the morning newspaper. It's all brought to you by our friends at Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Each and every morning it delivers to your email inbox at 7 a.m. free of charge. Also includes the Maryland Jockey Club entries for Laurel this weekend. Beautiful sports bar down there and little horse racing book down there. And make sure you get down there, check it out this weekend as well. You can bet all the ponies and you'll see all the upgrades at Laurel. Last but never least, breaking news happens first on the WNST text service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colazzos will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. I will be joining him from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas for a full preview of Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I am Nestor. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking the Stanley Cup and Baltimore sports.